I'm Senator Karin Rood, Senate District 10, all of Aiken and Crow Wing County. Since 2012, I have had the great privilege to serve with Senator Karin Houseley. We were freshmen together, we were in the minority, no seniority, and our offices were in the basement of the state office building. Not exactly a recipe for success, but succeed she did for her district and for the state. She was never afraid of any hard issue. When I first met Karin, I asked her if she'd like to go out to supper with me, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have a wild game." So after we got done, I said, "Well, Karin, where's your wild game dinner?" And she looked at me and she said, "Senator Rood, wild game as in hockey." So our worlds collided and we've been forever friends. So fast forward to 2016, into the majority. Thank you. As we got organized, Senator Houseley said the Senate does not have a long-term and aging committee, and we need one. It's imperative. And she said, "And I want to be the chair." Well, who could say no to that? She has worked on elder care with a fierce advocacy. There is no issue that Karin won't tackle and find a solution for, and the word that describes her best is tenacious. Karin is a person of character, integrity, and deep commitment to those around her, and she's a woman of faith. It is my great privilege and honor to nominate Karin Houseley as the next U.S. Senator from the state of Minnesota.
Good evening. I just got one bone to pick about the electronic ticketers. On the practice question, there was no hockey subject. You know what? This is the state of hockey. But hi everybody, and thank you for the warm welcome. My name is Phil Houseley. Thank you. Being a professional hockey coach, most of the time that introduction's good enough, but being at a political convention, I suppose that I have better luck introducing myself for the next 5 months as Karin's husband. You know, looking around and seeing your passion, dedication, and commitment, it's awesome, and it's exactly what we're going to need if we're going to elect Republicans in November. But seriously, thank you for the honor of hosting our family today. It's great to be standing before you today and introducing my wife. Speaking of which, before she comes out here, let me tell you a little bit about Karin Houseley. Since we started way back when in the halls of South St. Paul High School, Karin has been the love of my life. I've never met anyone quite like her, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world because of it. I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of the mother she has been to our kids. I'm proud of the good she has accomplished in the Minnesota Senate. I'm proud of her commitment to me, our family, our community, and I'm so proud of what she has brought to this campaign. It's only getting started, but I know Karin, and she never does anything halfway. In a time when Washington seems hopeless, she's the type of person that can bring people together because to her, public service is all about helping people live their lives. Instead of constantly tearing down the president, Karin will ask, how can I help? Instead of all that bipartisan pickering, Karin will ask, how can we work together for good? And instead of sitting on the sidelines, Karin will say, what can we do to fix it? Whether it's waiting up for the kids to get home, putting her own schedule aside to pick up the kids from hockey practice, or making sure there's a meal on the table, she always puts others first. Asking Minnesota to support you for a race like this is a big deal, and I know Karin is up for the challenge. Together, we've been through a lot, and when the things get tough, Karin rolls up her sleeves and does not rest until the job is done. She's driven by ferocious tenacity that gets the job done, and it's that quintessential Minnesota spirit that will propel her to victory in November. Trust me, just wait till you meet her. She's a tried and true Minnesotan, and she won't let you forget it. She embodies what that Minnesota spirit, and that's exactly what Minnesota needs in Washington. There's no one more dedicated, more willing, or with a bigger heart than Karin. She serves for all the right reasons, and at this point in our nation's history, I cannot think of a better person to represent all of us in Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to nominate my incredible wife and your next U.S. Senator from the state of hockey, Karin Houseley.
It all started right here, South St. Paul, but it could have been any one of our high schools, our neighborhoods, or small towns. My story is the same as those I'm fighting for. As the daughter of 2 public school teachers, I was raised to work hard, play fair, and do the right thing by parents who lived the advice they gave me. Then I met a guy who happened to be a pretty good skater. I spent a lot of time in hockey arenas, supporting Phil as hockey took us all across the United States and Canada, and eventually to the NHL Hall of Fame. Along the way, we had 4 great kids, I started a small business, and we came back to Minnesota every summer. Because Minnesota was, and always will be, home. Whether that home was South St. Paul, Stillwater, Walker, or Chisago, it was always God's country to us. I'm proud of that story, and I'm proud to be a daughter of this great state, and I'm very proud that our 2 grandsons are being raised here. That's why I'm so honored to serve in the state senate fighting for Minnesotans, fighting for a thriving economy, for jobs, for seniors, veterans, healthy families, and holding government accountable to you. I think I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I get to listen to people all across Minnesota, hear your ideas, your concerns, and help find solutions and get something done. I've worked really hard to reform government, take on the do-nothing bureaucrats, and the failed Dayton-Smith administration. I've forced them to clean house, worked hard to restore your trust, and got help for people in need who are being neglected. You see, in Minnesota, we have pride in our communities. We love our neighbors, we stand up for what's right, and we aren't afraid to call out injustices. We know our help comes from God, not the government, and we count those blessings daily. We come together when it counts, we face our challenges head on, and we're proud of our roots. Politicians love to talk, but I have a record of getting things done, and that's why I'm running for the United States Senate. We need to get government out of the way, working for you and not against you. As a small business owner, I know the best place for your hard-earned dollars is in your pocket. The government doesn't create jobs, you do. As a mother and grandmother, I refuse to leave a pile of IOUs for future generations to pay back. And as a government reformer, I would be honored to work with the president to help drain the swamp and make America the greatest nation the world has ever seen. Every Minnesotan knows you can't just sit on the bench and watch it all happen if you expect to change the outcome. You've got to lace up your skates and get in the game. I'm Karin Houseley, a proud daughter of South St. Paul. I work hard, I play fair, and do the right thing. And right now, the right thing is to beat Tina Smith. Who's with me?
You can turn the world on with a smile. Take a knocking day, suddenly make it all seem worthwhile. Once you learn, you should know it. Each present, every little move, any show, and nothing all around. Don't need to make it. You can have the time, why don't you take it? Don't wanna make it after all. How will you make it on your own?
We are here. We are here. Finally, this is the day I've been waiting for since December 20th, when I announced I was running for the vacated Al Franken seat. Thank you. I am Karin Houseley. I guess the video already told you that. But first and foremost, I want to thank all of the delegates here tonight, the committee members, the legislators, volunteers, and supporters that are here today. It is so important for the future of our state, our country, our children, and our grandchildren. So thank you so very much. Speaking of children and grandchildren, I want to introduce my family here behind me. You've met Phil already. We've been married for 33 years, and I'm the luckiest girl in the world to be married to him, too. Also, we have our 4 children here. We've got Taylor and her husband Jeremy with their 2 sons, Lewis and Archer. Daughter Reed, son Wilson, and our daughter Avery is stuck working in Syracuse, New York, and she couldn't get home. So, my sister from Atlanta, Georgia flew in, my little sister Jana. So, and thank you, Senator Rude, for the nomination. I really appreciate it, and I love you too. Because of your hard work, the Republican Party in Minnesota is better, stronger, and smarter than ever before, putting us in an excellent position to defeat Tina Smith and elect a Republican to the United States Senate who will put Minnesotans first and get things done. Earlier this year, I decided to run for the United States Senate against Tina Smith. If you're one of the 90% of Minnesotans who don't know who Tina Smith is, thank you, Senator Benson. She was Governor Dayton's hand-picked replacement for the disgraced Al Franken. It actually says right here, hold for the booze, so thank you. A lot of people have been asking me, why would I run for the United States Senate? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. Real Minnesotans need representations too, not just the metro area liberal elites. The truth is, when I look at Washington, I see nothing but dysfunction, obstruction, and a partisan divide that has grown worse than ever before. If the people of Minnesota send me to Washington, I know I can get things done. We can't afford more of the status quo, and right now, that's exactly what we're getting. Like you, I recognize that who we elect to the Senate in November will have a critical impact on the future of our nation and the next generation of Minnesotans. Right now, we're being represented by a senator who has done nothing but stand in the way of President Trump. Despite the confirmation of Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, a thriving jobs market, unprecedented jobs growth, economic growth, and a foreign policy that actually works, Tina Smith will do everything she can to hurt the president instead of doing what's right for the state of Minnesota and for our country. She puts the well-being of illegal immigrants above the American people. But that's all about to change in November, right? If you know me, you know that my entire life has been about getting things done. My parents, both public school teachers, raised me to work hard, play fair, and do the right thing. Whether it was doing chores, finishing homework, or helping out to take care of my little sister, we were taught there is nothing more important than our commitment, integrity, and respect. Work hard, play fair, do the right thing. It's that simple. After marrying my high school sweetheart, Phil, we made sure to instill those values in our 4 children and 2 grandchildren as well. And trust me, in a hockey family like ours, getting stuff done and keeping everyone moving wasn't always easy. But we stuck together as a family, kept moving, and we got stuff done. In 2003, I opened my own real estate business, Karin Houseley Homes. I sold houses and helped people move and get started to live here, right here in Minnesota. As a realtor, I also got things done. Minnesota is my home, and I want to do what I can to make Minnesota a better place to live, raise a family, and retire. In 2012, I saw an opportunity to serve the communities I loved, so I ran for the state Senate. Despite what you hear on the news about legislative gridlock, I was able to get things done there too. I exposed the Dayton-Smith administration's overwhelming failure of their own state government that led to rampant abuse and neglect of our elderly and vulnerable population. I held them accountable, and the press started to pay attention. We were able to hold long overdue hearings to investigate these horrifying abuses of our elderly, and I'm proud to be leading the fight for a meaningful legislation that protects the elderly and our most vulnerable here in the state of Minnesota. Yes. hard, you're going to hear this a lot. Work hard, play fair, and do the right thing. This motto has guided me throughout my entire life and career, and it will guide me in my public service as your U.S. Senator. Back to my opponent. A quick scroll through Tina Smith's social media will tell you everything you need to know about her. Tina is a self-proclaimed member of the Resistance, and she's a failed puppet of Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren, and someone who proudly votes no on almost every single federal appointment or piece of legislation that crosses her desk. This do-nothing mentality is nothing new for Tina Smith. She did nothing as Governor Dayton's chief of staff. She did nothing as Governor Dayton's lieutenant governor. The only time Tina Smith actually did anything was when she was a high-powered lobbyist for Planned Parenthood. Hold for booze. Donald Trump is our president, and he nearly won Minnesota for the first time in decades, and it is absolutely ridiculous that our U.S. Senator refuses to accept that reality. So instead of a senator bent on obstructing the president at every turn, Minnesotans deserve a senator who will work with the president to do good things for our state, and anything less is unacceptable. The taxpayers of Minnesota deserve a U.S. senator who will work with our president to fix our immigration problem, secure our borders, stand up to North Korea, cut our taxes, fix health care, and protect the sanctity of life. I am that person. I want to help President Trump build a wall along the southern border to keep violence and drugs out of our communities and away from our schools. There's a chant happening back here. I believe sanctuary cities are unconstitutional and put American citizens and local law enforcement at risk. As your U.S. Senator, I will vote to block all funding to sanctuary cities and empower federal law enforcement to keep our communities safe. I will fight to give our seniors and veterans the care they deserve. That means holding federal agencies accountable, eliminating red tape, and making sure no one in our country slips through the cracks. I will always stand up for our veterans, and I will always stand for our national anthem. I will stand up for life unapologetically, and I will do everything I can to defend the unborn. Right now, we're represented by a Planned Parenthood executive, but in November, you will have a pro-life champion in the United States Senate. Here in Minnesota, we know our liberty comes from God, not the government. We're not afraid to love our neighbors and do what's right. I support the entire Constitution, not just the parts that might be politically convenient, and that includes the Second Amendment. In Washington, I will stand with law-abiding gun owners and sportsmen and women of Minnesota to keep the radical progressives away from our guns. Tina Smith's days of obstruction are numbered, and she knows it. Together, we can replace our do-nothing senator with a proven leader and a devoted public servant who will get things done. Now, who's with me? I just have to take this all in for a second because this is pretty cool. Thank you all for coming again, and I really appreciate it. I looked for your endorsement. I would be honored, humbly honored to get your endorsement. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Minnesota, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.